Hello, 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 and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is August 4th, 2026. Today, we're going to be talking about a little bit about the war in Iran, which is on hold at the moment, as you saw. And we're going to be talking about a little bit of Ukraine. I got a little something loaded up here. Alex had on a very special guest today, and we're going to listen to what he has to say about what's going on in Ukraine and Iran. And then we're going to switch over to the sorry. He's gonna talk about Ukraine and Iran, and then about mainly about Russia and, what's going on over there, so we got a pretty good little lineup here today, plus we're gonna cover a bunch of different things. It's not gonna be just that necessarily, but, got a lot going on, man. The world's in a crazy state right now, and, I guess we're here to witness it, so without further ado, let's kick this off and hear what the man has to say.
Sophisticated arsenal of the strategic nuclear weapons, including hypersonic means of delivery, which is United States still only on process of testing. It's already our army have them on their combat duties. So, of course, now in this light, strategic patience of our leadership, I would say it's wisdom. Of course, it's come with a cost, but this is maybe position of adult in this daycare where all the kids become, crazy when they've got the credit card and went to order whatever they want to order. But when the reckoning day coming, who gonna pay the price? Population of these countries. And here we are in the era of developed democracies, freedoms, coming to very strange situation when apparently democracy dying as we speak. I think the democracy as we used to and know it in the West are basically dead. We need to declare that they officially dead and arrange for the funerals. I think for us, for all population of this planet, it's really time to come together and decide what we still can do to prevent the not only collapse of economy, we can deal with that, but the problem is if the nuclear conflict as a world war will break out, it's end of the life in the planet the way we know it. It's end of the human civilization.
That's some, that's some pretty big words there. End of the human civilization. Yeah, well, considering Russia is a major nuclear power, and considering we are too, yeah, I guess that makes perfect sense. Somebody needs to be the big boy or girl in the room and really have a discussion because I don't know about you, but I'm not quite ready for that. Um, well, let's keep going though. You can catch this full interview, obviously, over at Alex Jones Live, on Rumble, Alex Jones, and also over on X. So if you don't like my commentary in between, you can go there and catch the full thing.
How does Russia and Iran um, maintain? I have to admit, they're so patient. And, I wish I wasn't saying this because
I'm gonna go ahead and pause it right there for a minute. Patience is a virtue with given what's on the on the line here. I mean, all out thermal nuclear war or patience. Um, you know what I mean? Like, let's go ahead and be a little patient about it. Although I can imagine that people are starting to get tired of it. I mean, Russia was just bombed. They're going to talk about it here in a minute, but I was watching this a little bit earlier, and people were just standing on the beach, and boom, there goes the drone. So this is crossing over. This is no longer about military assets and other things of that nature. It's more of a we're just going to bomb you, and that's going to be that. So kind of sick.
American. I wish I could support, my country's actions totally unabashedly, but that's just not the case. And right now I look at the way Iran and Russia, they seem to only ever respond when Ukraine starts bombing their infrastructure, Russia responds in kind. I mean, that strategic sort of patience has paid off and has been very valuable because of the success that they're having now. But that can't be easy to sell to the Russian people, who are probably getting a little bit impatient with the way things are going. Can you talk a little bit about that, about the usefulness of sort of the strategic calm that seems to come out of Iran and Russia?
Well, the Russian leadership got the dilemma whether they're going to declare all-out war or declare special military operation. Well, special military operation basically allowed, Russian society function as normal. Basically, I would say till the, last 6 months, majority of the country has no changes in their lifestyle. Yes, there
That's Ukraine right now. I'm pretty sure that's Ukraine.
was certain sanctions, certain difficulties to get the products you've been used to, because European manufacturers, American manufacturers would not supply or shut down their offices and go. But then 6 months, they basically, with the help, and of course not only help, but I would say with the Ukraine was only used as a cover, start attacking deep inside the Russia. Of course, the population also feel the pressure, and the many wants way more, not only reaction or answers, but they want decisive, final blow to the Ukraine to finish this war. And whenever happen, then we will deal later with the, how we construct what we do with this territory. But for us, this is an issue of national security. We can't just leave or sit on the table with Zelensky or any other, because we perfectly know they will just buy the time to rearm, regroup, and continue this war. And it's for globalists, it's it's ideal situation. As late Lindsey Graham would say, it's the best investment America did.
Right.
We know Ukrainians basically, for cheap, sacrificing their own lives to do what we want to do, which means to inflict to Russia strategic defeat. Apparently, it doesn't work. They're out of options.
We can't even defeat Iran. I mean, okay, yes, if we went all out, yes, we truly could. But just to all out defeat Russia, the Nazis couldn't do it. I mean, just nobody in history has ever been able to do any. Germany laid the biggest hit on them you possibly could, 20 some million people, and they went, hold my beer, I'll be right back. And they went and smashed Germany. I mean, when America got involved, Germany was pretty much like halfway on its way out the door already because of the Russians. So that's just not going to happen. And little old Ukraine, if they truly wanted it and wanted to go there and just take it, they could. It's like China with Taiwan. They could go take it. If they really wanted to, what could we do about it? We're floating on boats. They have a mainland to hit us from. I mean, we don't really have much of a choice in that. If China truly wants it, they're going to get it. And if Russia really wanted Ukraine, like they say, they could go take it. There would be nothing we could really honestly do about it without going into an all-out nuclear warfare. And then that would just be the end of all of us. So, no, you're not just going and taking Russia.
Running out of the ammunition, and still Europeans forget one, and America, one very important factor. Russia, in comparison to Iran, is a nuclear power, and we have a very modern, sophisticated arsenal of the strategic nuclear weapons, including hypersonic means of delivery, which is United States still only on process of testing. It's already, our army have them on their combat duties. So, of course, now in this light, strategic patience of our leadership, I would say it's wisdom. Of course, it's come with a cost, but this is maybe position of adult in this daycare where all the kids become, crazy when they've got the credit card and went to order whatever they want to order. But when the reckoning day coming, who's going to pay the price? Population of these countries. And here we are in the era of developed democracies, freedoms, coming to very strange situation when apparently democracy dying as we speak. I think the democracy as we used to and know it in the West are basically dead. We need to declare that they officially dead and arrange for the funerals. What would be post?
Yeah, it would seem like, it's funny how we squawk about democracy so much until it becomes something necessary for the world. And then we decline the rest of the world that democracy and push our own authoritarianism on them. It's kind of crazy, isn't it? And like he said, it's dead. There is no democracy. This is a world order plan you're seeing in live fruition. And they love to scream democracy until they get it screamed back at them, and then they find out how big of hypocrites they are. It's exactly what he said. Let's go ahead and wrap it up and call it what it is,
Democracy world? We don't know. But look how it's going with the election, even in the United States, with the preparation in Europe, with all the ratings of the leadership plummeted very close to the ground level, and they still on power. And believe me, they don't want to leave this power. And for them, Ukraine is a good, playbook how to achieve it.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And I mean, the absurdity of claiming that we are defending democracy in Ukraine when the man is not elected. Ukraine is run by Zelensky, who was supposed to leave office like 3 years ago at this point, or whenever it was. I mean, the whole thing is absurd, and I hate to laugh, but it's exactly accurate. The adults in the playground. I mean, that really is how it feels. It feels like our leadership is a bunch of children that are incapable of recognizing the consequences of their actions just a few years down the road. And it's very dangerous, this game that they're playing. I completely agree with you. And it's a bit of an insult to tell us that we're a democracy when they do absolutely nothing to people that they want. I in many ways would rather they just come out and say, no, we're a tyranny, then we'd actually know what we're dealing with. But it's this manipulation is
correct.
Beyond frustrating. Well, thank you so much for being with us as always, Viktor Bout. We got about a minute left. Final thing you want the American audience to know about the current developments in the worldwide conflict taking place?
Well, I think for us, for all the population of this planet, it's really time to come together and decide what we still can do to prevent not only collapse of economy, we can deal with that, but the problem is if the nuclear conflict as a world war will break out, it's end of the life in the planet the way we know it. It's end of the human civilization.
Yeah, it's definitely the end of the human civilization. Russia being a mega power with those somewhere around 2,000, 3,000. America, I got to assume probably the same. Yeah, you're asking for the end of the world at that point. Yeah, there is no coming back from that. Whatever's left on the planet after we're done, then good luck to it. That'd be about all I can say.
Then I don't know how many millions years, whoever survives can reach again same level of civilization. But eventually, we as humans either not ready, either do not feel responsibility, because the way we are right now, we maybe can be allowed only to have sticks to fight each other, definitely not nuclear weapons. And until we, liberate ourselves from this global cabal of the globalists and all kind of the Satanist sects, we are basically doomed for the extinctions. So
absolutely.
Let's pray that it ain't happening.
Amen. Thank you so much, Viktor Bout. Follow him at Real Viktor Bout on X.
Wow.
I vote.
That is a dire warning from a man who knows what he's talking about. That guy has Putin's, left or right ear, call it whatever you like, but that's not what you want to hear. That's a scary situation. I mean, the end of the planet, yeah. Let's just hope cooler heads prevail, and then that's not the reality, because I don't, there's no need for that, but you never know. People are pretty dumb. People are pretty dumb, and dumber things have happened on this planet. That's for sure. Here
The
is
national security space.
here is another video. Alex had another really great guest on today. I know we use a lot of Alex's stuff, but it's great reference points, and Alex obviously, just has the best talking points on stuff. You know what I mean? And he's guessed a lot of things correct. So I use a lot of his footage because it's just spot on. It's like having your finger on the pulse, you know. So, but the man he has on here, this guy used to be a former FBI agent and whistleblower, and this guy has a lot of inside intel exactly on what's going on, and I enjoy what he has to say because it's never a dull moment. All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and get to it.
Now it doesn't have to just be that our government or people that are interested in this outcome set it up. And I think you're correct. 9/11, letting it through October 7th style, which is the most plausible answer for them as well. It's like just because you didn't set it up, you can be quiet and allow it to happen and get some value out of it. It sounds like that was maybe the same thing that happened at Pearl Harbor. So this is not a new routine. It seems like every 30 to 50 years, we go through a thing where people have a certain sense, they have a certain awareness, and there's a great way to get America to be cohesive, to unify. And it's externalizing a threat. Whatever that threat is, it's irrelevant what it is. It actually doesn't matter at all. It can be the Chinese do, global grid takedowns. So we got to get the sons of bitches in China. Or it can be, it's the cave dwellers in Afghanistan. They take your pick. You let something happen that's terrible to the homeland, and people all unite, and they forget all their differences and their political BS. They surrender a bunch of their liberty. That's pretty much an important piece of it. And what you end up finding, and it doesn't matter whether it's pandemics or whether it's terrorist attacks, I have this instinct, and it's kind of scary to think about. I think we saw it during COVID. Americans actually don't want freedom. Like deeply, there's a problem with a huge chunk of our population doesn't want freedom. They want freedom from responsibility and consequences.
Yeah, well, that's more of the new generation, I'd say. My generation, millennials, we understand you got to work for things, and that might be just the fact that we're in this digital age, and making money has never been so easy. And they're looking at these hard working jobs and going, why would I want to go do that when I could get online and be a content creator? Or there's like 1,000 different ways to make money online. And that is the problem. Who wants to go be the trash man when you can make a bunch of shorts and put that out on YouTube, or you can make a bunch of little reels and put that out on Facebook or wherever? Who wants to do that? You know what I mean? It's a different world we live in, and unfortunately the trades are going away. Learning plumbing, learning electrical, learning certain things, you know what I mean, to keep up with our society. And they're going to have a very tough time in the future when they need one of those tradesmen to come to their house and fix something. And those tradesmen, are very few, far and in between. So they're going to be in for a very rude awakening. Those trades are just Some of those trades are just necessary. Roofing, um, plumbing, electrical. That's just all things that that require manual labor from another human being to come do. Y- Gen Z is in for a very, very rude awakening. You know what I mean? When they hit the future and they hit our age, and then there's no, there's like 1 out of 1 million plumbers. There's 1 out of 1 million people doing the actual trades that you need. Your roof is leaking. and it's going to take you a month to get somebody to come do it. That's where they're screwed. So Gen Z is going to wake up to a very harsh reality that life is not free. All this socialism, all this communism, it never worked in the past. It never worked. If it worked, it would still be going today, but it doesn't. I mean, you can say China's communist. They are to a certain extent, but they're also capitalists too. They do allow industry. They do allow business. And yes, they have a tight grip around it. It's like capitalism with a limit. It's not, I wouldn't call it 100% communism. It's capitalism with a limit, with a limiter. You know what I mean? You can reach this level, and anything after that, we're taking it. And we're going to have a say in your company. You know, like when Apple goes there and signs a contract, China has the right, the Chinese government, to intervene within their company and take intellectual property and certain things. So there is a communistic aspect of China, but it's also a very capital. They've learned like this little balance of the both, you know, capitalism and communism, if you will. And it's not, there's just nowhere in the world where this socialist ideology has ever truly worked out for the people. And they're gonna wake up to a very rough reality that it will not work. It's not gonna happen. They're gonna give all their power away to these people at the top, and they're just gonna suck it up like a vacuum, and they'll never know freedom again. They'll never know any of that until they fight for it again. It's almost like a vicious circle, you know? And I feel like Ronald Reagan's speech was very truthful, as in, you know, they'll put the boot down on your neck for the next 1,000 years. And they will try, and they're already trying with us. You know what I mean? So Gen Z, boy, they better wake up real quick. Let's go ahead and listen to this.
So they're willing to actually sign over an awful lot. And I think that the founding fathers recognized this all the way back. And that's why the average person wasn't even supposed to be a voter, because they just didn't have enough awareness or skin in the game. I said something this to one of our congressmen, who is actually, I think, a decent one. And I said, I don't think that it's just that our leaders are insane and doing wild things. And I don't think that we're just doomed, broadly speaking, because of that. I think we have an electorate that is deeply uneducated.
It's time for a false flag. Clearly 9/11, bare minimum, they let it happen. Bare minimum was used to take our rights. Bare minimum. And so now you have Israel saying, boy, a new 9/11 would sure get people behind this unpopular war. And so you look at all the cards of the establishment. We're at a make or break moment. A global awakening's happening. The perfect thing would be a nuclear false flag. Trump assassinates, gets assassinated, is blamed on Iran, something like that, because Israel's too confident. The neocons are too confident. The globalists are too confident. It's like they know something's set up and ready. That's their ace card. You know they've got it, and I believe it's false flag.
Real time, uncensored, unstoppable. Alex Jones.
Of course they do. They're planners. They plan ahead. I mean, they haven't gotten this far to not plan ahead and, you know, think ahead. Of course, they got contingency plans for everything. I'm sure of it. You know what I mean? They have literal think tanks. So they have literal think tanks. You know what I mean? And I know they do. You know, like they gather the smartest minds in the world to sit around and think of these, you know, what if scenarios. And, you know, they got contingency 1, 2, 3, 4 out the door easily. And that's the problem with, you know, society. We're not cohesive enough to have just a contingency plan if things go awry. You know, keep the food, keep the water, keep the electricity all going. We're not cohesive enough. And that's the whole divide and conquer scenario, though, too. So they've been very wise in dividing us through race, color, creed, you know, taking away our nationalistic ideology, if you will, and distorting it. And they've done a great job. That was part of the plan. That was like plan 1, plan 2, you know, and then they're just moving along as they go. And of course they have, you know, well, okay, if this happens, we do this, you know, we do this, if this happens. And, you know, just they have think tanks around the world that probably think of contingency plans for everything you can imagine.
basically made or broken down has come true here, except even that he was right. He said he's heard Kash Patel will be fired in the next few days. That was months ago. And then Kash Patel wasn't fired. But a few days later, the news reported that Trump almost fired him. Just like we heard that Tulsi Gabbard was going to be fired. And then Roger Stone confirmed to me, and he later told the story on air. He called, talked to Trump for an hour, explained that this is a lie. She's not running against you. You know, she's not about to resign. She's not setting you up. It isn't true. Laura Loomer is a liar. And Trump didn't fire her.
Laura Loomer, that's somebody, man. Wow, that chick. Jeez, wow. That chick changes with the wind, man. Who knows where she's going half the time. It's insane.
But then there was so much pressure, she was told to leave a month later. So our prediction hearing she was fired, we hear she's fired today, was real. But it's like when somebody's on death row and then at the last minute, there's a special injunction by a judge and if there's a lawsuit, it doesn't happen. But they love, just to show how accurate we are, the neocons, I see it every day without looking. They take a clip of me and Seraphin from whenever it was, 3 months ago or whatever it was, and they go, look, your daily reminder, Jones and Seraphin said that Kash was going to be fired. And he's like, I don't know if it's accurate, but it's from good sources. I'm told he's going to be fired in the next few days. And we didn't say he will be fired. We said, we hear he's being fired. But I don't even obsess over that. The guy obviously is just a Hollywood wannabe and does whatever Trump tells him to do. But where I am really worried about is Todd Blanche. And I made the point last year. I said, I bet when they get a new attorney general, and we did predict he'd get rid of Bondi. I said, I bet it's Todd Blanche. People said, no way. Former Democrat lawyer, Southern District of New York.
Yeah, former Democrat lawyer. Like, we put Trump in, and he surrounds himself with these same swamp creatures, just in different forms. I don't know what to say to it. It's like, what are we doing here? What is this? Get rid of him. Get rid of Todd Blanche. Get somebody better in. He's not making any moves. I have not really seen the guy make any significant moves in the direction we need to go. Do you think he's going to hold a single Democrat? Look at what they did to Trump. My whole thing is, look what they did to Trump. Can we have that back? And we have the ammo on them. We have the actual, paperwork. We have the stuff. Like, we watched them break the law after law after law. The first time in U.S. history, sending the FBI to a president's home to have it raided, after he got out of office. The first time in U.S. history. I mean, these guys breaking the law on Republicans. We get in and nothing. Just nobody gets indicted. Dr. Fauci gets talked to in front of the panel, and he has basic immunity. There's nothing they can do to him. What can they do? Oh, well, they can't indict him. They can't bring anything against him other than you just won't talk. So they can hold him, a fine. I mean, they're not going to even do that to him. I haven't even heard nothing since then about it. I know Rand Paul wanted to do something, but he probably got shut down behind the scenes. It feels like the Democrats are still in charge, even though they're not in charge. What? How? How is that even a thing?
Trump's bag man, the guy that writes all these letters authorizing insider trading, authorizing Trump not having to pay income taxes. I mean, it's crazy. And Blanche testified recently before Congress that he is Trump's personal lawyer. And so now we can put this on screen. Trump is announcing a Truth Social function that you can subscribe to that will give you insider information on what stocks to pick according to what decisions Trump's going to make. So Trump can go now.
I'm sorry to stop it again. I'm sorry, but I have to intervene. They're going to impeach this guy. There is no way. If the Democrats take the House, they're going to at least impeach him in the House. Now, I know that's not a full impeachment. He'll still get to be there, but he's going to be a lame duck president. After the election goes through, and if the Democrats take the Senate or the House, he's going to be a lame duck president. There is nothing we can do about it. I mean, he screwed himself here, to be quite honest. He really, really screwed himself. Wow.
Do stock tips that he's been doing for all the
Like, there's no way that can be legal. There's just absolutely no way. But I want to see the paperwork because, informational research.
sons of his cabinet where they're all making billions apiece. And Rothschilds getting them islands off Albania and putting up fences so people can't use the seashore, so they riot. I mean, look, I don't want to be on a Trump bashing fest here, but this makes Pelosi blush. Yeah, let's put that back on screen. Look at that. I mean, this is the level of stuff.
I don't want to bash the guy either. I voted for him 3 times. He was like, in my eyes, and this just may be me black-pilled or thinking the world's going to burn, but I really looked at it as Trump being the last hope. Like, I think if Democrats get in, if we look at what Biden did, Biden pretty much nullified Trump's last presidency. He took away all the executive orders. They actually passed stuff. I mean, they went after us hard, man. I mean, I think if they get in, that's going to be accelerated times 5. I looked at Trump as the last hope. He was my last hope. That's the way I looked at it. This guy's my last hope. It gives me nightmares. Because look at how quick Biden pushed everything through he wanted. If we could be just a cohesive unit one time like them, we could get so much done. But we're not, and we're going to pay the ultimate price.
Trump media launches paid real-time Truth Social feed for traders. The Truth API gives hedge funds and trader firms instant access to market-moving posts that Trump and top users aimed to monetize the platform's real-time data. So it's the Bloomberg terminal as a high-margin revenue stream. So Pelosi, they're like, hey, hold my beer, Pelosi. I mean, think about that, that she made more than double in her stock picks what other top stock traders did. So everybody was way below her. Well, hold my beer. Trump family, as the largest shareholders, stands to gain directly from the fees. Lawmakers like Senator Warren and Schiff.
And just a little word of advice: if you trade in the stock market, and I didn't know this either, according to what I've seen, every library has one of those Bloomberg terminals at it. You can go to your local library, and I didn't know this. I watched a video on it. You can go to your local library, and one of those up to date, because I don't know if you guys know how the stock market works. You get everything 15 minutes after the fact. So that gives all the stockbrokers and everybody else 15 minutes in advance to, get their stuff situated. But those Bloomberg terminals are up to date. They're at the moment. And I didn't know there was one at supposedly every public library. Now, I don't know how true that is. I've never gone there and did it, but supposedly there is one that at every library, at every public library, and they're up to date. Instead of you getting the 15 minutes after the fact, you can get it real time. So if you're a stock trader, that might help you.
Man, SEC probes over corruption fears, while the company insists it's just fashion delivery of public info through Trump's past posts, like the green candles have visible swayed markets. Okay, so let's just stop there, and I'm going to call surfing. What's crazy about this is, because Schiff's against it, and he's an evil Democrat who I totally hate. You try to put me in prison. It must be okay. Let's back it because we're cheerleaders for Trump. oh, if they do a deal in Tajikistan for tungsten for a couple $1 billion, and the day after his sons are put on the board and given all this money, Trump does the U.S. government deal to buy the tungsten, or the UAE and the Qataris, everybody else, they come and buy billions from their crypto company. It all goes belly up, rug pull. They don't even complain. The Trumps get the money. This is bunker town. I mean, this is the most naked crap I have ever seen. But don't worry, Todd Blanche will give them a little get out of jail free card. And I remember Kyle Seraphin like 6 months ago saying, watch, because he was getting notices of grand jury stuff and FBI stuff, because Google tells you, hey, we've got subpoenas. And then I got one, I showed him, he got one the next day. And he was like on the phone going, yeah, I bet actually, they come after us. And so not only is the weaponization continuing, it'll probably just get worse on this trajectory. So we can't get any Democrats or deep staters indicted. But don't worry. Todd Blanche went and killed the investigation that Ed Martin was doing. 6 different investigations into the CIA and DOJ running the fake lawfare against me, the show trials, smoking gun, financing it, the DOJ through grant money, all of it. And Todd Blanche literally told ABC News, well, Jones is fringe, so we're killing the investigation. So I deserve all this to be done to me. That's just great. And I didn't get mad at Trump even when that happened a year ago. I just said, okay, well, I just hope Trump doesn't keep going sideways. And now he has. So, Kyle, that's kind of the setup. I appreciate you, popular podcaster, Kyle Seraphin Show. People can find it everywhere and on X. Just search Kyle Seraphin. Kyle, what do you make of Todd Blanche? What do you make of the fact that he's advancing now to a full Senate vote? Looks like he's in. When I've criticized him now, I'm being called a leftist traitor because some of the Democrats oppose him. That means he must be good. Again, a very mindless system here where it's like tug of war with a dog. Oh, you can't have this. And so now they want it. And so now Todd Blanche is our champion. All the never Trumpers, whether they're Democrats or Republicans, whether they're Mark Levin or Todd Blanche. And what do you expect to see once Todd Blanche he's already been the acting AG for I don't know how many months. Pam Bondi's been gone. But I got to tell you, this is really sickening behavior, but also sickening by the minority of people, but it's still a big minority of Trump supporters that are really pissed that I'm not supporting Todd Blanche. I guess he didn't hurt me and my family bad enough killing that investigation. So I should thank him for this.
There's a lot there, Alex. So let me kind of, on the bigger scale of it, I'm ambivalent. There are things about Todd Blanche that give me significant pause. Some of those include the fact that when the Epstein Files investigation was shut down, which happened just over a year ago, it was a year and a month ago, almost to the day last year. And so they shut it down. And we're told both by Pam Bondi, who was under sworn testimony, and actually by Todd Blanche at the time, that it was his choice. It was Daniel Bongino's choice. It was Kash Patel's choice. And there was no daylight between DOJ and FBI. So they're the ones that owned it at the time and took responsibility for it. People can make that what they will. I'm cursed with a memory, probably in the same way that you are, that I remember things that maybe everyone else tends to forget because they move on to the next shiny object, and all the shiny objects just pile up in a cabinet in my brain. So that's one of those things. I've also had people that have been in Todd Blanche's orbit that have been really decent. In fact, I met his senior legal counsel, and he was a really good man from what I could tell. He'd also suffered pretty aggressively under the hands of the state and had really had an articulate understanding of what weaponization looked like. And when he explained it to me and some plaintiffs in an FBI lawsuit, it sounded very genuine. And if you surround yourself with genuine people, that says something about you. The company you keep says a lot about you. So that's kind of a mitigating factor on the Todd Blanche story. Then I hear the stories that you've shared and the stuff that's gone on with Ed Martin. I'm not personally privy to it, but I respect you as a person, and I don't think you're making it up. And so that's another sort of thing that weighs in. I'll look at a couple of things that people can sort of assess from their own, vantage point. Number one, Todd Blanche has basically been the attorney general for the last, let's call it 5 months since Pam Bondi walked out. And he may have been running things as she was on her way out the door, so maybe 6 or 7 months. So he's functionally the attorney general as the acting attorney general right now. So that's part one. The second thing is that Todd Blanche's appointment was a political football that was being tossed around and being fought over. And it was being handled by essentially permanent Washington, which is John Cornyn and Tom Tillis. They both were like, oh, we're not going to allow his nomination to continue. We're not going to be able to do a vote on his confirmation. We're going to hold it hostage based on whether or not there's a weaponization fund. Todd Blanche has pretty clearly said that he wanted to fix weaponization. The other problem is that while he's the attorney general, they're actually doing legitimate weaponization up until the last, let's call it 48 hours. And one of the lead news stories for most of the news agencies today was that Donald Trump said that Jeanine Pirro, who I'm not a fan of, choked on a case that is pure weaponization. This is the reflecting pool, whether or not it was properly set up or whether it was destroyed by vandals. And this was a big deal going up into July 4th. So before they launched this, whatever it was, a Freedom 250 event, there was a big question on whether or not the reflecting pool was getting a rush job and was broken because they had crappy contractors, or whether somebody went in there with a bunch of X-Acto knives and cut it all up. And the answer is they charged a guy who was an Olympian, former, he's probably a leftist, and probably, if I had to guess, he lives in Maryland, so you make certain choices where you live. But the guy doesn't seem to have been the person that they could prove did any damage to it. And so Donald Trump is pushing a vandal.
Well, from what I've seen and heard, the only evidence they have on the guy was he was riding his bike around it or near it. Like, that's really not, you didn't catch anybody in the act of going near the pool or whatever doesn't make you the man who did it. You got to show a little more evidence than that. And I'm pretty sure Jeanine, she's pretty tough. And if she'd have had video evidence of him hopping in there and coming out and, like actually doing something, she probably would have charged him properly. But there was nothing to charge him with because there was nothing on him.
Vandal narrative. The evidence from DOJ came out that it was bad contracting and a poorly applied finish to the pool bottom. And Donald Trump wanted them to go after him anyway and said vandalism is the right course of action. That's weaponized government. Weaponized government is where we've already determined what the outcome is going to be, so the government goes out there and then finds the proof to be able to justify it. And if they can't get you, then they do ends justify the means. They decide to just run you down. And you know this as well as anybody, but it's going to be a legal cost. It's going to be reputational harm. It's going to be the process of going through, which ends up being the punishment that even if you're vindicated at the end of it, you're still destroyed financially, emotionally. Your instincts towards any sort of trust in institution are wrecked. And so they tried to do weaponized work against this Olympic, canoeer, kayaker, whatever he was. And that was ongoing. And Todd Blanche was the acting attorney general when that happened. So, it's a big, complicated question. But what it looks like broader to me is that business as usual continues on, that petty nonsense continues. And even though I think Donald Trump has let down most of the people that signed up for whatever it was he was selling, and he was selling 20 promises to the American people. There's this thing called Agenda 47, which was pushed out, and it was roughly similar to what Project 2025 was by the Heritage Foundation, where they said, here's all these problems. We want to shut down the border. We want to do mass deportations. We want to get rid of the largest number of people that have ever been deported in the history of America. We want to make America affordable again by reducing inflation. We want to make America independent when it comes to energy costs. So we want to solve all these different issues. And essentially, we've gotten very few of them. What we have gotten is the Trump family has gotten very rich, as you pointed out, through crypto. We're now seeing Donald Trump, who owns 41% of True Social, and Trump Media owns this big chunk of it. And they're going to give like you said, the Bloomberg terminal access to Donald Trump's market-changing posts on social media. That's crazy. That'd be like if you gave a back channel that you said, well, we're going to do C-SPAN Plus, where you get direct access to the floor of the House as they're making decisions. And then we're also going to do C-SPAN Minus, which is what the regular people get, and it's 20 seconds delayed. So if they pass something crazy, then you can make market moving changes and you have this this window. And it might be milliseconds.
Let's be clear about that.
but that's what they do with the Bloomberg terminal. So you get everything 15 minutes after the fact. So you know, it already happens that way. I guess Trump isn't really doing anything different. He's just connecting that to his True Social so people can, in live time, make proper decisions on that. I guess I really don't have much of a problem with that. I just didn't know if that was legal or not because Bloomberg is the only one I know that even has those terminals. So,
Seconds.
C-SPAN Plus would be like putting microphones at every desk so you could hear
Right.
the wrangling. I mean, that would be invaluable insider trading information. For people that don't know, at the Battle of Waterloo, that's how the British Empire won against Napoleon. They sent carrier pigeons to the coast. A quick corvette went across and told the Rothschilds that the British had won. They said, oh, the British have lost, crashed the stock market. You got full control of the British Empire on record then. That's when the Rothschilds really took over the world. But side issue, that's how incredibly valuable. And in the advertisement, I didn't just believe USA Today. When I saw this 2 days ago, I went to True Social, and the advertisement says you'll get access to market moving data first. They're literally saying this is the definition of insider trading. And they're like, well, you're a Democrat now for being against that. No, I'm against it all. This is crazy. I mean, so what do you think is going on in Trump's brain? I know Bondi and now Blanche give him these letters, and judges have been striking those down. But that's an executive, judicial fight, constitutional crisis. But I mean, these letters, and then now Trump says he's just going to pardon the entire administration. This is just, we're taking all the corruption of Biden that was record level, and instead of getting rid of it, they're building on it. There's no way to look at that and not say that's what this is.
Right. Calling out corruption from any side, looking at things that look corrupt, regardless of who the players are, that's called having principle. And so you're saying the same thing that I've been saying. It really, really upsets the people that are in the MAGA movement that want to believe something that's obviously not accurate. And anybody who's being honest can say there was a dramatic change that took place sometime in July last year. And the pivot has been, we had this agenda, and it basically finally died with the Epstein files as they closed down the investigation. I'm sure they thought that was going to be the end of that discussion, and then they were going to be able to do whatever. Unfortunately, there are some pesky people in independent media that have done exactly what Daniel Bongino said that we ought to do, which is not let certain stories die. And so that story plagued them for all of last year and the tail end of it from the summer into the fall. It resulted in people leaving. But the idea that you would be able to spend money.
Trump Media Group, Trump Media and Technology Group is now shopping to traders and investors a premium version of the Truth Social delivery at early access to the feeds of high-profile users, including the president. Starting Saturday for a fee of up to $100,000 a month. Holy God! So this, excuse me. So this is not for the common man. I don't have $100,000 a month. Wow, that's crazy. So this isn't for you and me. This is for the already rich people who can spend $100K a month to go in here and do this. I mean, my goodness, $100K trade for a glimpse of the president's often moving announcements about economic policy and global affairs before the rest of the world. Wow. That has got to be insider trading.
And get access to information that everybody's going to eventually get, but you get it first. I mean, that's what corruption looks like if you're the person who's actually giving out the information.
For $100,000 a month, too. Not no little. I mean, I think it'd be one thing if he just put it out there for free and let everybody, go in and just check it out for themselves. But to sell it for $100K a month, that's.
Now, let me say this differently. If Elon Musk,
that's not what I voted for,
were to say that, you would get access to Twitter Plus, and Twitter Plus means you get stuff faster than other people and you get a faster updated feed, and we prioritize data to you. That's not the same thing because Elon Musk is not in government. But when the president of the United States owns a media company and the media company says, we're going to give you faster access to the president of the United States speech, it'd be like if they were to leak testimony to you first. And it may only be in milliseconds, but the way that
they're
AI can
basically
ingest
saying
this
we're
stuff.
going to tell you what happens in cabinet meetings. And by the way, I've gotten a lot of that information. I never even thought to go use it financially. I mean, here's an example.
And they have this also exists in DC in a more analog version. They have a private club that Don Jr. has opened that's called the Executive Branch. And for $500,000, people can become members of this club where they can rub shoulders with people who are in the executive branch of the government. So what we saw Hunter Biden and the so-called Biden crime family get involved in, right? This is the claim is that they were the most corrupt and blatantly corrupt organization that had ever stepped into the White House. It looks like the Trump family has basically said, yeah, they were corrupt, but they were amateurs. Let me show you how a professional does it. And so it's the difference between watching T-ball and watching a Major League Baseball team do it, because what they're doing is wildly inappropriate. And if you had any principles, you'd go, look, I don't want anybody to be using government to enrich themselves and to abuse it. And it looks like that's exactly what's going on.
You read my mind. I was about to say, this is Major League, and this is institutionalizing it and hiding it in plain view, which is very sophisticated because it's so bold. It's like you come home early from work and you see your neighbor's car there or your buddy's car. You walk in, open the bedroom door, and he's on top of your wife. And instead of denying, he goes, yeah, big deal. She likes it. What are you going to
Oh my God, that's a perfect analogy because that is what it's like. It is exactly that. Holy God. This guy's going to get impeached. The Democrat Party is going to come after him so hard when they take office, if they take office. This house is crumbling around him and he doesn't even understand it, or maybe he does, and that's why he's just stacking the chips, getting ready for it to fall. I don't even know at this point. Wow, that's brain busting. That is absolutely brain busting.
I mean, it's
Right.
literally just it's just hiding in plain view. Big deal. What are you going to do?
Yeah. And the question is what are you going to do? And the answer is we can't do anything about it. So I actually have a slightly different view on some of this stuff. And maybe I'm a little bit more, maybe I'm prematurely pessimistic in my younger age than you. But I look at this. I listened to Mark Wayne Mullen speak the other day. And he said there's no political solution to the immigration problem. Now, those were the top two things that the Trump administration promised. And it wasn't just Donald Trump making that promise. This was the Republican platform. Number one was seal the border and stop the invasion. And I think that they did a good job on that. So we'll get them credit where it's
Right. It was the top thing he was talking about until he got in office, met with all the high level CEOs of all the companies. And they pretty much looked at him and said, well, if you get rid of these people, you're getting rid of probably a quarter of our workforce, and they work for very cheap. So it's pretty much slave labor pricing in a way. And Trump probably went, okay, put the brakes on that. And he's just getting rid of the criminals and like the gangster types and things of that nature. He's not going to get rid of it. Obama, which this is sad, but true. Obama got rid of more people during his tenure than Donald Trump has done in his last presidency and this presidency together. Barack Obama got rid of more people. I think Barack Obama got rid of 5 million illegal immigrants. Trump hasn't even got rid of 1 million yet, I think. And he's been in office for almost 2 years now. So he's not going to. They're cheap labor for his buddies. Boy, we've really been screwed all the way around, haven't we?
due. The second thing was the largest deportation operation in American history. That was their claim. So when I hold someone to account for what they said, it's not Kyle Seraphin saying it. It's not Alex Jones saying, this is what we expected and you're not meeting my expectation. This is what you promised and you're not doing the thing you promised. And Mark Wayne Mullen said that we've worked on immigration reform since the 1950s. We've had no meaningful movement on it. Whenever we get together, we can come up with nonprofits, NGOs, people that are sort of politically aligned think tanks. We can get the executive branch together and say, what is the common ground that like the left and the right both agree on? You know, outside of the red lines that are the no's, what are the the yeses, and we'll come up with a plan, and then we'll bring it to the White House. The White House says, yes, if you can get this signed off on, we'll do it. Then you take it to Democrats and they mark it up. Then you take it to Republicans and they mark it up. And when it's all said and done, they're nowhere near anywhere and nobody can sign off on anything. So he's literally said this recently as a, Homeland Security Secretary with a few months under his belt, that there is no voting your way out of this. Those are my paraphrasings of his words, which is that there's no political solution. So if there's no political solution, nobody is looking upstream and saying, well, why is that? Why is our political system broken? And it's pretty easy to walk it back. And the best thing is that there's not a single person on the planet today that's alive that was around when these decisions were made. But our country, I speculate, was irreparably broken in 1913 due to a variety of things that happened at the same time. Number one, the Federal Reserve was instituted, so they destroyed our currency. Number two, they got access to your currency, the money that you're earning in your pocket first. This is the 16th Amendment, where the federal government got to dip in and do federal income taxes. And by the way, they pitched the same way the communists are pitching it today, which is that we need to do communism. They said, we're going to tax the wealthiest people because they're not paying their fair share. The 16th Amendment
it was only going to be for the one. It was only going to be for the 1%.
Very, very small percent. That's right. It was going to just go after the richest people. This is the nose under the tent that the camel puts in, and then suddenly you got a camel hanging out inside your cot. And so this was done in 1913 when they were pitching the 16th Amendment. The second thing that happened on that same year was the 17th Amendment, which broke the Senate. And the Senate was meant to represent our state houses. This is something that, broadly speaking, has to be understood. The entire purpose of our two different houses, one represents the people and the other represents the states. The people are the masses. This was like the lower house, the way that they were modeling it after the House of Commons over in Britain. And then the upper house was the House of Lords. But rather than representing like the money owners or the wealthy in America, it was meant to represent the state houses, which means you distill the power of each individual state to whatever the majority is in that state. So it represents a majority at a much more sort of distilled level, taking it from beer to liquor.
It was a check on federal power in the Federalist system, that senators were creatures of the states that could be recalled and removed at will by a vote of the legislature, and instead it created an imperial Senate. Now the communists want to get rid of the Senate altogether, and the Electoral College. So you're absolutely right. And so they want to get rid of it because
it's broken. What's crazy is they're making the argument that it's broken, and they're right. And this is where the sort of
and that's where it hurts, because it is a great system, but it is broken, and it's from years and years of abuse and rewriting and writing and rewriting the rules and rewriting pretty much everything. Well, and what they're not bringing up as part of that Federal Reserve Act, they turned us into a corporation and made almost two sets of rules. See, before then, we only lived out the Constitution, Bill of Rights, and then states had a few, preliminary rules, and, like just, okay, you can't do this, can't do that. But they didn't break constitutional right. So when they wrote the 1913 Act, by giving you, and in 1933, by giving you a Social Security number and a birth certificate, and then making a duplicate you into a corporation, and then that split the law. That made where they could make these codes and they could do certain things, because they weren't allowed to create a debtor society. They weren't allowed to lock you up for it. At best, they could just garnish things and take things from you to pay it back if you owed. But now you're under a completely different set of rules. Just like when you go into a judge's chamber, there's two different. It's fragmented. It's two systems, and you got two systems fighting each other, and you're told, "Oh, we live under a constitutional republic," when it suits their needs. But then when they need to suit their needs, which is why cops can run over you, understand what a title is. You don't own anything unless you own what's called the allotted title. The allotted title is the actual title of the land or of the vehicle or of the certain things. You don't actually own anything. And so they created these two separate systems, and now you got these two separate systems fighting each other for power. And that's the problem. And you don't know which system you live in. It's either admiralty law or civil law. And that's the two systems we're under. So they're running everything under what's called admiralty law. Law of the ocean, law of the sea, basically. and they're trying to uphold a constitutional republic by it like a puppet state. It's a puppet. It's not actual. You go into court, a judge can do whatever he wants to you. A cop can lie to you. The police can arrest you and throw you to the ground and do all this stuff. When that used to be illegal, unless you were actually breaking a constitutional law, everything else was just a fine or something of that nature. So you have two systems fighting for each other, fighting against each other, one's trying to overdo the other one, one's trying to get rid of the other one. And what they've done is put one in power over the other, which screws you. Because there is no actual, then what's the law? Oh, nobody knows. You know what I mean? Until you bring it up in court and you actually say something. So it's just a big cluster. A big cluster fuck. And that's the problem.
This subtlety gets into this game. When you say something is broken, and we all agree, if you say the American system right now is unfair,
I'll be right back, guys. Go ahead and listen to him.
the wealthy have more access to certain things. You've talked about globalists. The reason why globalists are dangerous is because they're not interested in the nationalist agenda of the actual country they live in. They're extra national entities. So that's where globalism is the issue. Same story. Recognizing the problem, they just come up with a completely different solution. I think that we should probably repeal the 17th and try to restore the Senate. What they want to do is destroy the Senate so they can take over and have more sort of mass power.
We got to go to break. But 100%, it is broken. It is an imperial Senate. You don't even make it worse by getting rid of it. What we do is we repeal the 17th Amendment and we repeal the 16th Amendment for the income tax. Kyle Seraphin, you're dead on. Let's bring Harrison Smith into the discussion straight ahead. Talk about the midterms, talk about the Iran war, and a lot more straight ahead. Please stay with us.
There is a massive sale going on right now at thealexjonesstore.com. Huge. Ultimate summer sale. 50% off Ultimate Power, Freedom Mango, and Patriot Punch. Methylene Red capsules. This is a proprietary product. It would take an hour to get into Ultra Methylene Red. The capsules are now in. Mind Fuel Nootropic Energy Shots, all 50% off. 40% off Zeolite Tincture, detoxify, go up for spike protein, and it's good for your whole body, getting heavy metals out. Methylene Blue Tincture, 40% off. CMOS Gummies, 40% off. Shilajit Gummies, 40% off. Methylene Blue Gummies, 40% off. Ultimate Chill, and a whole bunch of other big discounts as well. 30% off all apparel.
All right, we're
the
back.
widest selection of Patriot shirts of every different design, configuration. It is the widest selection. It's over 800 different shirts. It's ridiculous. The new line that I designed is, I think, pretty good. Rather scum since 77.
Yeah, we have been lied to, and at this point, it would probably be better if they just come out and say, yeah, the Constitution, Bill of Rights doesn't exist. And then we could at least just know what it is. Because when you bring it up to a police officer, if you bring certain things up, some of them follow it, some don't. You take them to court over it, they don't care. I mean, you're living in a state of confusion purposely. It reminds me of that Phil Collins song, you know, living in a land of confusion, because that's what you are. It's purposely done, and they don't have the balls to just come out and say, "Yeah, we superseded the Constitution, we overrode it, it's gone." The 1913 and 1933, the Birth Certificate Act, and the Social Security number, we pretty much erased your right. This is a corporation, and that's what it is. You live in a corporation. You do not live in a country, and that's the problem. You live in a corporation.
Back to the fact that for over 115 years or so, or however long the Federal Reserve Act, 1913, so 100 plus years, we have been in this system, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. And Trump was going to cut down the national debt. He was going to deal with the inflation. It's now roaring out of control. There's no exit ramp for him on this. Israel's not going to let him out of it. I wanted to bring Harrison Smith in to comment on Todd Blanche and give his take, and then just the general corruption, the Democrat Socialists of America, really the job we have to inform the public that socialism and communism is not the answer to this crony capitalist rigged market that you can't even call free market capitalism. I mean, we've got our work cut out for us, because on this trajectory, most people will have to have a universal basic income, even if you don't want to be in this system. To have the ultra rich above the.
Well, yeah, because they're going to follow through with AI. That's going to follow through. The data centers are going up, and AI will run certain aspects of society and life, and you're going to be out of a lot of jobs. When AI is fully implemented, and I would say within the next 5 to 10 years, so many people are going to lose their jobs. If you look at the job market today, like Amazon got rid of 30,000 plus people. Oracle got rid of 20,000 plus people. They're already getting rid of these people where AI can already do the job. You know what I mean? Most of the places you call for customer service are automated computers. God, you call a hotel these days, and it's half of them are automated before you speak to anybody. You get an AI that says, "Well, I can help you with mostly everything. What do you need help with?" And then you need help booking a room. You need help this. You need a price check. I can do it all for you. And you're like, "Whoa, what?" So that's a job gone. Look at Walmart. Look at all the big stores, self checkout. They're eliminating cash register jobs from people. Um, and don't get me wrong, in some cases, I think the self checkouts are nice if you got a low amount of items, but nothing if you go in and you got a full grocery cart, nothing beats going into a line and putting it on that conveyor belt, and she just, you know what I mean, really quick swipes it through for you. I think self checkout's great for like 20 items and less. But the other day I was standing there with 2 items in my hand, and this lady had 20 some items, 30, well, probably like 40 or 50. She had a full cart, and she was there probably 30 minutes on her own. And I remember the Walmart person just pretty much hovering over the whole time, watching her to make sure she was scanning every item. So jobs are going away, and no matter what, CBDC is going to be a thing. We're going to have to, or you're going to have millions of homeless people. Yeah, it's definitely the future, and there really ain't much we can do about it. I mean, look at welfare, look at food stamps, look at healthcare. Initially we were all against that, and then that happened. They just slowly through time implement these things in, and it's not like they take a survey and, well, what do you guys want us to do? Nope, they just do it. It's in our face, and they just do it.
Law, international, not paying taxes. And then those of us in these different systems, a mixture of socialism and communism with a race-based divisional system, that's what the globalists describe in their white papers as the managerial system of divide and conquer, the great game that we're living under. And it's just going to get more dystopian, not better. And I don't say all this horrible stuff to get people down. We need to address the fact that where this train is going is not a good place. Harrison Smith, I want to get your take on what Kyle and I were just talking about, and then get into some more solutions here, and also pick Kyle's brain on, as we're in the 156th, 57th day now. And Trump's trying to tell us this war might last 17, 19 years. He says the Vietnam War lasted 19. That's not true. It lasted 11, but it doesn't matter. I mean, this is bizarre. He ran on no new wars, and at least in the past, they had to sell us on a war with big lies. They try to get the public behind it. The public woke up. Used to be 60, 70% were for the wars. Now you got 80 plus percent of the general public against it, 60 plus percent of Republican voters against it in every poll. So I've never seen anything where they start a war, say it's not a war, it's super unpopular, it's a disaster, and now it's expanding, but it's not a war. But almost no one's buying the lies. And so the Republicans are going to lose in the midterms.
It's definitely a war. We can't call it anything else. When you bomb somebody for 12 days straight, that is one little bombing, one little skirmish. Okay, we don't call that a war. 12 days in a row of hammering somebody, we call that a war. It's crazy to think of it as anything else. That is most definitely a war. We have definitely been betrayed, or this was the gig the whole time. We're going to more than likely lose the midterms because this is the most unpopular thing Trump has ever done. Like I was saying, my episode yesterday, I was saying, why did he not just wait till after the midterms this year? If you waited till this year to do it, you should have been thinking further enough ahead that you knew that this was the midterms for the government, for the House and the Senate races. I mean, he all but pretty much handed it to them. Unless I'm off and that not that many people care, but from what I see, a lot of people care. A lot of people care. And this is turning voters off left and right. And you can see it. You can hear it in everyday life. I mean, it's the first thing the left and the right has agreed on in probably 10 years. I've never seen across the board an agreement quite like I've seen with the war in Iran and, the economy right now. Housing market prices have not changed. They've gone up. Gas has gone way through the roof, way back up to where it was. $4 for the cheap stuff, $5-6 for the good gas. I mean, my God, it's one thing if it were just to fall back a little bit or fall forward a little bit. Let's say gas was always 3 something, but we went from 2 something a gallon last year to now almost $4 a gallon. I mean, we're talking a $2 per gallon price jump. Food prices have not fallen. I've seen it actually go up. Ground meat last year was $3.59 a pound. This year it's at $4 a pound. I'm pretty sure. I bought a pound the other day, and it costed me $4.49. So yeah, it's at like $4.50 a pound. So meat prices haven't fallen. Nothing's fallen. It's risen. I don't know what he is doing, but he's destroying everything that he worked so hard for, and he's taking us with him in the process.
And we're 3 votes away from the war powers, but something tells me we're not going to ever get those votes to pull Trump's authority, which is the constitutional thing to do. I mean, this is just next level. And I don't have a feeling, I know this historically, that once you reach a point of corruption like this, where the system just doesn't care, only 90 days from the midterms, that's 3 months, boys and girls. Once the fish starts rotting, it doesn't go back. So at a certain level, we've got to start talking about what.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize we were that close.
3 votes away from the war powers, but something tells me we're not going to ever get those votes to pull Trump's authority, which is the constitutional thing to do.
Yeah, November.
I mean, this is just next level. And I don't have a feeling, I know this historically, that once you reach a point of corruption like this.
That's how much time we have. 90 days, 12 hours, 23 minutes, 36 seconds. That's how much time we have. And these 2 numbers are going down as we speak. So, and there's no way to pull this back. There's absolutely no way to pull this back. How? Oh, this is going to be a nail biter this November.
Where the system just doesn't care. Only 90 days from the midterms. That's 3 months, boys and girls. Once the fish starts rotting, it doesn't go back. So at a certain level, we've got to start talking about how do we position for a long-term collapse? And then how do we politically, culturally get positioned to not let that turn into pure communism. So your take, Harrison Smith, and I'll get Kyle Serafin's take on it.
Yeah, it's all deeply, deeply intertwined, as you're pointing out. I think the false dichotomies that are constantly being set up between capitalism and communism, which in our past, it was never capitalism versus communism. It was communism versus God and freedom and liberty. You know, we put "In God We Trust" on the money during the Cold War because that was our division from communism. We didn't put money on our altars. We put God on our money because that was what we were actually fighting for. But yeah, then it comes to the Iran war and you get similar false dichotomies, right? You're either for the Muslims or you're for the righteous Americans fighting this war. This is all absurd. And I think like taking the bird's eye view and zooming out a little bit is the right thing to do. Maybe we'll play it in the first 5 minutes of the next hour or something. But one of the first things I did at InfoWars when I started working there in 2018 was do a report about the year 1913, because it was this turning point year. It was the Federal Reserve, the income tax, but it was also things like the Rockefeller Foundation was started, the ADL was founded. There was the first Aliyah to Israel. The 17th Amendment obviously took America basically from a republic to a democracy. It's where the democratization all really started. And also, Henry Ford invented the assembly line that year. I don't think that's a coincidence, because that is the year that sort of the purpose of our culture changed. And this Henry Ford idea of you're going to be a cog in the machine rather than a craftsman or a worksman or a master, workman and that sort. No, you just became an ant in a colony. And so really, I mean, the good news, the silver lining of all of this is that for at least the last 100+ years, there's been this concerted effort to destroy the West. And most people haven't even noticed. Obviously, that's frustrating, and we wish people would wake up to the threat, but that's just how powerful the West is. And even now, as the sort of collapse is accelerating, you go walk around, most people have no idea. Yeah, they're maybe making a little less than they'd like to, and food's a little bit more expensive, but they're so comfortable, they're so prosperous that like they're fine. And we really need to wake up people to the fact that you may be fine now, but there's going to be a time when you're not fine. And now you have the resources and the time and the ability to fight back, and that's going away very rapidly. Obviously, the result being that all of these socialists and communists are being elected. And I found a sheet out of a magazine from the 1940s. I was at a antique shop, and they had this framed magazine. And what it was an advertisement called The Contented Workman. And it was all about how the contented workman has no need to listen to the communists. The contented workman who can be sure of his job and safety and has a wife and kids and is building something, not only will they not go to the communists, they have no reason to, they'll actually fight to preserve what they have. And so it is this sick feedback loop combination of the evils and excesses of capitalism, totally unrestrained, totally manipulated by the government, leading people to believe that we need socialism, we need communism as a consequence. So I put this squarely on the laps of the Republicans, saying, you know, you are to blame for this. You were given an opportunity.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Hold on one second. Okay.
Loop combination of the evils and excesses of capitalism, totally unrestrained, totally manipulated by the government, leading people to believe that we need socialism, we need communism as a consequence. So I put.
But communism did not build all that. You know what I mean? Like communism did not even come close to building that. And that's what they will lack in that dystopian future. Because who's going to build all that when it all crumbles? I mean, these buildings are older. They're going to need work. And if you got no craftsmen, you got nobody to do anything, well, then what? Who rebuilds? Robots? Just make yourself completely useless? I mean, that's the future.
This squarely on the laps of the Republicans, saying, you know, you are to blame for this. You were given an opportunity to get rid of all the H-1B visas, get rid of all of the immigrants, open up the American market to the specifically white, but American-born people that have been excluded from from their industries for the last 10 years at this point. And I've got some stats here, and then I'll pass it off to you. But I mean, the thing is, we have to recognize this is bad. That's the thing that the Republicans and Trump seem unwilling to do. They look at the stock market and go, things are great. The stock market is, I don't know what it represents. It certainly doesn't represent the prosperity or well-being of the average American. So America in the last 55 years, welfare programs have experienced a 900% increase. U.S. national debt has received a 10,500% increase. The foreign-born population is up 450%. illegal immigration population is up nearly 5,000% at least. Planned demolition and immigration is key to it all. So, it's extremely frustrating watching this golden opportunity, maybe our last opportunity to rescue America from the fire, is being absolutely squandered on this war for Iran, which just makes absolutely everything worse.
Very, very well said. And again, we're not trying to be negative here for negative sake. We have to admit we have gangrene, and you're right.
You have to admit it and you have to cut it off if you want to cure it. Problem is, how? How do we stop what's going to happen? AI is going to be introduced. CBDC will be introduced. Digital ID will be introduced. There almost will come a time where you'll just have to have it. And the days of opting out will become very short and null and void.
There's a normalcy bias because this happens so slowly, but on average, people are waking up a lot more and getting upset.
Part of the
Not
plan.
just here, but around the world. There is a global awakening, so we have that on our side, but you can see it's all accelerating. During any system like this, at the end, it goes a lot quicker. Kyle, do you agree with that statement? And then B, how far into this do you think we are? How much longer can this continue? I mean, I know with the closure of the Strait of Hormuz over the last 150 plus days, it's been closed pretty much the whole time. Little trickles here and there. From the economists I've talked to, the numbers I've seen, it looks like it's worse than we thought, actually, with the fertilizer in the growing season not going out. Russia curtailing exports, total exports cut of diesel. Half the farmers just not even ordering.
Look at that. That is insane, honestly. Welfare program, 900% increase. Wow. And I remember back in the 90s, they were trying to, they did actually cut the welfare program. How did we get back to it? That's so insane. All on purpose. All on purpose. Help the collapse. This is the collapse right in front of your eyes. 55 years, that makes perfect sense. Coming out of the 60s through the 70s, 80s, 90s. Took a while for it to implement. And then when we hit the 2000s, steamroll it.
Fertilizer here because it's too expensive. Not just that it's not available, it's that it's too expensive for the diesel alone. Like $5.50, dollars a gallon. This baked in really starts hitting next fall, which is right around the corner. Fall and winter. I mean, it's almost here. And then by next year, the estimates are $150 a barrel, 160 if it continues. It'll be 120 soon. The strategic oil reserve is basically gone. What do you see in your tea leaves for this? And of course, for the midterms in 3 months.
Yeah, the guys I talked to are saying exactly the same thing, that we're looking at essentially running out of the buffer zone and entering into the real consequence of doing this Iranian war thing, and which was supposed to take 4 days. And somebody described to me the other day that we are back to back Iran war champions. The same thing, that we're looking at essentially running out of the buffer zone and entering into the.
Yeah, look at that right there. Beef loin New York strip steak. Look at that. $10.99 a pound. And I remember it. I was cutting meat. I was a meat cutter. So I definitely remember this. And then I remember when it jumped up. I was cutting meat at this time. That was my job, was to cut this and package it. Wow. Yeah, and it hasn't stopped. This is now well, it may right now be at this price, but I remember when I was just still working, doing it just this year. This had went up to $17.99, and then a ribeye was at $19.99, something like that a pound. So, yeah, that's crazy, isn't it?
the real consequence of doing this Iranian war thing, and which was supposed to take 4 days. And somebody described to me the other day that we are back to back Iran war champions at this point, apparently, because Donald Trump has declared victory on any number of days. Actually, one of my buddies just sent me over a cartoon that said, is today a day where we are going to bomb the living hell out of Iran, or is this a day when we're taking a pause for peace? And the person he's talking to in the cartoon says, well, give me a second. Let me check with your stockbroker. And so maybe that's what's happening out there, because it seems like there's people playing the futures markets as well. Kind of broadly speaking, you want to know how deep we are into this? This is how deep we are, I think. And by the way, Harrison, all of the stuff you said was very insightful, I thought. I think the number of things that happened during that year that converge are kind of brilliant. And then the way that it's grown out, it doesn't start immediately. It's a snowball. So it's a small ball, and then eventually you get to the part where, like you go titanic leaps. Right now, let's just take a quick pause and breathe and think. We have Donald Trump, who ostensibly is a Republican in the White House. We have Mike Johnson, who's the Speaker of the House, which means the Republicans have the House of Representatives, right? We have Thune as the majority leader in the Senate, which means Republicans have both houses of Congress, and they have ostensibly a majority in the Supreme Court. So the entire government leans towards favorability towards the agenda that maybe constitutional conservatives would consider to be interesting. And instead of saying, these are the great victories we've won, we had this monumental opportunity. We had a 2024 election, which was a bleed-off valve for potential violence because people were getting towards that mentality of 1776. We're not voting our way out of it. We're going to outsource the revolution to Donald Trump and the party behind Donald Trump. That's what they did.
That was the problem. We made the same mistake this time around that we made the first time. Nobody learned their lesson. We didn't send other people in there with Donald Trump to represent him. We sent the lone soldier in, and he got dominated from the inside. Too many people got at him. Too many people said, look, it's just not going to happen the way you think. He probably got the proverbial talk this time. And they were like, look, whatever you think you're going to do, you're not. We're going to shut it down. We're going to stop it. And you know what happens. JFK, buddy. So either you go along to get along this time, or we'll be exiting you stage left. That's my guess on the talk. And we didn't send no senators in there to really have his back. We didn't send anybody, we didn't have anybody go in and have his back, going into office with him. He picked Pam Bondi as the AG. She had no skill at that level and should have never have been picked for that job in the first place. And this is what we ended up with. Once again, a trapped Donald Trump, trapped by the deep state. And the only thing I can think of is that he looked at how hard they broke him last time, how much money he lost, and then he went, you know what, screw it, I'm going to recoup my money, and I'm getting out. I think he realized this time around, when he got back in, how exactly broke the system truly is, and that he cannot save it. So he went with plan B, which was milk this system for everything I can get and get the fuck out. Because if you look at the turnaround, his first 6 months, really great stuff. Then after that, nothing. A complete 180. A complete 180. So that shows you right there exactly his turn point, where he went, you know what, screw this shit. I'm just going to get what I can get, and I'm get the fuck out of here. I'm going to set my family up for life, and I'm out.
And what are they saying less than 2 years into it? You have to be scared because the communists are going to take over. The communists. Previously, we were talking about socialism and, maybe sort of like broadly speaking, like people who had Marxist ideology, right? Marxist ideology, not avowed communist, capital C. And they are now trotting out a boogeyman of communism under their own watch. Not saying, hey, we did this and this is how we've de-weaponized the government so that even if the wrong people get voted in, we fix these structural problems. And here's how we've gone out there and addressed what we saw as weaponized government. And these are the people that were wrong that we've made right and so on. They're not doing that. They're trotting out a boogeyman saying, yeah, we suck. And yeah, we're deeply involved in corruption and we're selling easy access to insiders if people want to do it. And we're profiteering off what's going on. And we've started a new war that we promised wouldn't happen. And by the way, Ukraine is still at war, which Donald Trump said he was going to fix day one. And even if you take that as hyperbole, theoretically, there was going to be some conditions that were going to stop that conflict. And that's not. We've just expanded and we have another conflict now in the Middle East.
No, now he just made a deal with Europe to sell them the weapons and make them pay for it through NATO, and then give those weapons to Ukraine. So it's just same old bullshit repackaged as a new present. But when you open it and you see it's your old pair of sneakers, you're pissed. And you're going, wait a minute, I thought I was getting a new pair of sneakers. Nope, it's just your old ones refurbished a little. We put new shoelaces on them. Happy birthday. You're like, oh, I love that for me. Thank you. I love that so much.
And they're starting to touch to the point where Ukrainians are now getting involved in, some of the stuff that's happening in the Strait, and they're going after shipping lanes.
Sinking Iranian ships.
So when you get deep into the point where your conflicts have now not just they've propagated and they are beginning to interact with each other, and the only redeeming quality that the Republicans are going to trot out is that we're not communists. That's what I heard. That's absolutely the speeding, enormous snowball making huge revolutions because the weight of it is now behind it. So you said, what is the solution? And nobody wants to be a doomsayer. The biggest crime right now to the people on the political right is recognizing the situation as it sits too early. This is a crime that Alex Jones is guilty of forever. It's like, God forbid you see what's coming at you. If you say it too soon, then you're just a pessimist and you're a doomer and you're interested in there's no joy in being right about saying bad things. And if you say it when it's actually
smashing into you, and if you say it when it's smashing into you and it's too late, then you're a genius.
Apparently, when there's no solution. And so for me, and this is just my personal thing, this is what I hammer on the morning podcast, because I don't actually think that we can vote our way out of this thing. I
don't think so either. Honestly, how do you vote your way out of it? And even if you do, are they going to vote the way you want them to fully? Because if you don't, the whole thing is, if you don't get rid of the Federal Reserve Act in the first place, then it doesn't matter what else you do, because then you're just stuck in that same loop. So it doesn't even matter. Somebody would have to go in, literally take the hit on the debt and say, you know what, we're not paying it back and we don't care about being the world reserve currency. We're going to start an American currency, and it's good here in America, and a dollar's worth a dollar in America because it's based off our land, our labor, and who we are. Sorry to the rest of the world. You guys got to figure it out, and we're out. And that is literally the only way that's going to happen. That can be the only way. And until that happens, well, it wouldn't matter if we could vote a bunch of good people in if they don't take those steps. You have to eliminate the Federal Reserve. You have to reset the country back to what it was and go from there. And that is going to be a nightmare to some people.
We tried to vote our way out of it. I think we tried to vote our way out of it in 2024, and the result is where we're at today. So I see this very strange moment. I see the United States and the people of the United States in 2024 and then going on to today that are still paying attention. They're re-experiencing a moment that we were in the late 1990s. In the late 1990s, we had yet to hit $10 trillion in national debt, and that was considered to be a really big problem. And so whether you look at the art, and by that I mean the music, the movies, the literature that was being written, or even the pop culture, sort of the fantasy novels that were being written, there was this instinct that we're going to probably have to bleed our way out of this. And that's not me advocating for violence. This is me noticing that there was a moment in the late 1990s where the American populace was fed up with corruption. They saw that there basically were two wings to the same bat. The discussion of uniparty was very prevalent. And so we had books like Term Limits, which were written by Vince Flynn, which was about killing off people and trying to get the power back in, which, by the way, was a very strong point that Donald Trump was making. In 1997, The same sort of attitude that we had in America was being relived in 2024. There's other things, the music and the way that music was looking for God. A lot of pop music, if you go back and listen, I've been doing almost exclusively 90s rock in my workout list right now because it just feels comforting to me. And I listened to the art, and what they were talking about was like, what are we doing here? And how are we here? And have we turned away from God? And so there was this moment that happened, 30 years ago. And the only thing that took us away from that moment, which could have ended up either violent or maybe even a peaceful way of overturning what the system looked like, was we had 9/11. And 9/11 was a double down on quadrupling the debt and starting an endless war and saying that we're going to pitch you this thing, we're going to sell you on it. And it was an increasing of the surveillance state. And I think Americans got back to that point in 2024, to the point where you have now theoretically our guy, the one that we outsourced the revolution to. There's not going to be violence. There's going to be Donald Trump. And he's going to bring a chainsaw to government. And Elon Musk is going to come in there and use his brilliance to be able to streamline all the problems. And what we got now is the communists are at the door, is what they're telling us. Not we've rolled it back and they're generations away from taking over. Like we're one election away from seeing communism in America. That's actually a tacit admission of failure, if you ask me. That's what it looks like. And so we're back to the idea that you can pitch AI and you can pitch surveillance. And that's what this administration has kind of done. They've partnered up with different AI companies, and you've got flock cameras propagating all across the country. And Americans from the left and the right are both going, you know what? Flock you, man. We're not interested in doing that. In fact, we might cut them down. We might go do tens of thousands of dollars worth of property damage. And you're finding people from the conservative right that are leaning towards maybe extrajudicial solutions to things because it looks like our system is not actually working for them.
I was about to interrupt you and bring up Flock. I see it as healthy that people are waking up and unifying with civil disobedience. The company's been caught lying, but I realize that's just a small piece of it with all these other systems, the assistants, the phones, the cars with the kill switches, the smart TVs. Yep. This is everywhere. So people always pick one thing that they want.
Well, Flock is just a part of the entirety of the symptom itself. So Flock is just the most recent intrusiveness into your life. And that's what it is. It's just the most recent thing. So that's why people have I think people have accepted the cell phone listens to you. Your TV might be listening to you, which to me is worse than the Flock because those things are intimate. Flock only sees you driving in your car. It can only mail you a ticket, and it does do other things that, if true, I guess it makes a full, goes online, checks your phone number, checks everything. It does a full search on you and compiles the information, but it's nothing more or less than what your cell phone's done. And if you're on social media's done the same thing. So what do you do with that? You're kind of stuck in this catch-22 of it's just a part of the symptom. And so yes, we get rid of Flock, but what do we do about the intrusion into our phones? What do we do about the intrusion from our TV? I was talking one day to somebody, no, not on the phone, just talking to somebody I invited into my apartment, and we were sitting here talking, and then all of a sudden I saw the commercial pop up on my TV for the thing we were talking about. I talk on the phone, I get off, I change the channel on my TV, boom, there's the commercial for the thing we were just talking about. Then I go scroll on my phone, boom, there's a little, the commercial for it. So it is a part of the symptom, and it's just the newest addition, which is why Flock is getting all the, all the craze right now, I guess you could say.
Want to know about, and then now they've already moved on to Axon and all these other systems. But that's overall, right. It's healthy that we've learned to come together. If we can now use this awakening moment to get them fully awake, then we can get legislative systems locally and federally, just like we did with BlackRock, getting Texas to shut down some of their ESG systems. This stuff is also clearly illegal, but how do we make sure it doesn't just go off half-cocked and fails? But then going back to your previous point, I want you to elaborate on this, and then Harrison to comment on it. it's not just saying, oh, we'll protect you from the communists that the big universities and big foundations and big money have been financing as the threat and allowing the Democrats to run their election fraud in the blue cities, building up their Frankenstein monster. Trump said, oh, look at Morocco, look at Spanish-held Morocco, look at the Muslims. You better vote for us in the midterms or that'll happen here. And then meanwhile, the State Department recognized it a few months ago, gave them $40 million in the law, said in the law, this is for you. You control Northern Sahara. You control the Spanish areas. It's yours. Israel said, we're supporting them doing this uprising. So these people were encouraged, brought there by the border police, let through as a threat to Spain. On the other side, you have the communists saying, come here, but they didn't want 80,000 in a day. They wanted to be slow so they can use the foreigners, the Muslims, as an excuse for a police state and a detonator they can activate to riot whenever they want. So Israel, the U.S. used their own system against them. And now Trump turns around while his own State Department is behind this to a great extent or exacerbating this problem and says, vote for us. I'll protect you from this. Let us take your rights. Al-Qaeda will get you. Then Trump says 2 weeks ago, we may use Syrian Al-Qaeda to attack and free Lebanon. I mean, just like Israel founding Hamas, it is totally sick. So now we have, but finally, to your larger point, incredible breakdown, it's time for a false flag. Clearly 9/11, bare minimum, they let it happen. Bare minimum was used to take our rights. Bare minimum. And so now you have Israel saying, boy, a new 9/11 would sure get people behind this unpopular war. And so you look at all the cards of the establishment. We're at a make or to break moment. A global awakening's happening. The perfect thing would be a nuclear false flag. Trump assassinates, gets assassinated, is blamed on Iran, something like that. Because Israel's too confident. The neocons are too confident. The globalists are too confident. It's like they know something's set up and ready. That's their ace card. They've got it. And I believe it's false flag. They can't use the pandemic as people that backfired. What's left? Migrant flows, economic collapse, cyber attacks blamed on Iran. We've been predicting that. Now it's happening. Is it real? Is it?
Or all that together. Create a huge bundle of chaos. Well, then people will come crawling for the answer. You know what I mean? Order through chaos. And that's always been their theme. It's been their theme for 300 years.
Is it Iran? I don't think so. 7 states water supplies hit. Is that prepping us for something bigger? Is it a cyber attack that Klaus Schwab said will make COVID look like a minor inconvenience? Kyle Seraphin and then Harrison Smith on false flags.
No, 100%. The false flag is the thing that my friends and I have been talking about, people that have been in the national security space. It's the, now it doesn't have to just be that our government or people that are interested in this outcome set it up. And I think you're correct. 9/11, letting it through October 7th style, which is the most plausible answer for them as well. It's like, just because you didn't set it up, you can be quiet and allow it to happen and get some value out of it. It sounds like that was maybe the same thing that happened at Pearl Harbor. So this is not a new routine. It seems like every 30 to 50 years, we go through a thing where people have a certain sense, they have a certain awareness, and there's a great way to get America to be cohesive, to unify. And it's externalizing a threat. Whatever that threat is, it's irrelevant what it is. It actually doesn't matter at all. It can be the Chinese do, global grid takedowns. So we got to get the sons of bitches in China. Or it can be, it's the cave dwellers in Afghanistan. They take your pick. You let something happen that's terrible to the homeland and people all unite and they forget all their differences, their political BS. They surrender a bunch of their liberty. That's pretty much an important piece of it. And what you end up finding, and it doesn't matter whether it's pandemics or whether it's terrorist attacks, I have this instinct, and it's kind of scary to think about. I think we saw it during COVID. Americans actually don't want freedom. Like deeply, there's a problem with a huge chunk of our population doesn't want freedom. They want freedom from responsibility and consequences. So they're willing to actually sign over an awful lot. And I think that the founding fathers recognized this all the way back. And that's why the average person wasn't even supposed to be a voter, because they just didn't have enough awareness or skin in the game. I said something to one of our congressmen, who is actually, I think, a decent one. And I said, I don't think that it's just that our leaders are insane and doing wild things. And I don't think that we're just doomed, broadly speaking, because of that. I think we have an electorate that is deeply uneducated. And also, they're not interested. They're still going to...
Which is crazy, isn't it? How can you be that uneducated in the world today when you have the entire world at your fingertips. You literally have Google. You have all these different AIs. You have all these different searches. How can you be that stupid? It's a willingness to be that stupid. It's no longer, oh, I don't have him. It's just a willingness. You don't care enough. And that's where you lose the country. The people have given up caring. It's not a fact of the information's not available. It's not a fact of, you know, well, we'd like it to change, but we don't know what to do. You have a group of people large enough right now that are just, they don't care. They hand the keys to the government. I did my part. I elected you. Now you go do your thing, and I'm gonna go do me over here. And just let me know whatever you pass, and I'm cool with it. And screw it, you know. And when the electorate used to be involved, they used to watch what those bills were. We used to watch and care what they passed on a daily basis. We used to want to know, understand it, and rectify the situation if it got out of control. And nowadays we just don't care. It's a matter of not caring. And I think a large part of the electorate wouldn't even care to vote anymore. I think that's why they don't care about the voting system as it sits right now. I think that's why you have all the potential to cheat, you know, in it, and you have everything because they've just given up all the way around. They're more interested in going on TikTok. They got a 30-second mindset. They're more interested in shorts and TikTok and doing things like that. They're not interested in the long haul. They don't. Their brains just aren't wired for it anymore. They've lost that sense of being in the real world, and they're lost in computer land. I mean, you could have Ready Player not ready. Yeah, I think what is it called? Ready Player One. Ready Player One. You could introduce that system today, and I promise you, 25 to 40% of the population in America alone would sign up for it immediately, and that would be the end.
Costco, they're still ordering things from Netflix.
Well, I was
they're
about to
saying,
say,
I've got
I
a
was
problem with
about to
Bud Light,
say,
but they're
it
still
is
going to
the-
order
it
a Bud
is-
Light at work or when they go to a bar.
It is a systemic political, cultural, economic illiteracy is like the stagnant pond that lets the amoebas and the leeches grow. Incredibly well said. We got Victor Boot coming up. I'm going to co-interview him with Harrison Smith. I want Harrison to be able to comment on this. But how do people find your podcast and everything you do, Kyle Seraphin?
Yeah, check out KyleSerafinshow.com. That'll take you to our Spotify link. Today's show, I think, was a good reminder for people if they were interested. How many of you guys have forgotten the things that went on during COVID? And you remember the broad strokes of it, but I think they actually count on us being like human goldfish and dumping this stuff. The fact that it's back in the news with Anthony Fauci, check out today's show if you guys are interested in kind of a rehash, some of the things that went on for people from Aaron Rodgers to me, to what you guys experienced, and then what people experience in their own life as nurses and doctors and truck drivers and just regular people trying to live their life. You know, we had this moment come up, and I think a lot of people are trying to not just they haven't just done sort of like amnesty for what happened over the last couple of years, and we haven't had any accountability, that's for certain. What we've had is sort of amnesia, and that leads to some really dangerous outcomes. So it's a good place. People can check it out, KyleSerafinshow.com.
All right, thank you. KyleSerafinshow.com. Thank you, Kyle.
There is a massive sale going on right now at the Alex Jones store.
Wow. Yeah, we're doomed if we can't pull our proverbial heads out of our asses here. We're in bad shape. It's not looking good for America at the moment. And it's a lack, I believe it's just a lack of interest from the public. I think we're at that point where Gen Z and some millennials and even some people in my age group have just given up, and they're like, just do whatever you're going to do. What a sad, sad moment. What a sad, sad moment in history. All right, guys. Thank you for joining me on episode 6. I hope you guys had a wonderful time. I sure did. It's been a really good time here. I'll be back on tomorrow around about the same time, 3 o'clock Central. You can catch me on X at KJ1116, aka Sundown. I got a blue check mark. You'll find me real easily. You can catch me on YouTube at Distorted Perception, and that's at Distorted Perception with instead of E's, it's threes. You can see it right here. And then also, of course, on Sundown Entertainment here on Rumble. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. I hope you had a good time today. I did. It was a great show. And I hope to catch you guys tomorrow. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate you. Much love and peace out.